all for tuning in. I hope everyone's doing well and have had a good weekend. Um, you're with Mize. I've got Raj with me on this very wet, rainy Sunday evening. How you doing, Raj?
I'm all right, mate. How's it going?
Yeah, good, good. I'm knackered actually. I'm not gonna lie. I'm absolutely shattered.
Because you got massively pissed after Arsenal won on Saturday.
Not just that. So my weekend has just been crazy. Like, yeah, I've just been crazy for me. I would say maybe not crazy for some people, but older folk like me. Yeah, I was at Coldplay on Friday night at Wembley with the family, which was really nice. That was my first time seeing them. So that was like had a very very good time, and it was a late night by the time we got back. And then
The
I was up.
Arsenal players were there a while ago, weren't they? Wasn't there?
Oh, were
It
they?
was like two. Yeah, I think it was like 2 weeks ago or something like that. Because they've been touring. Correct if I'm wrong. I think Coldplay have been touring for a little while, right? They've done quite a lot of
This
shows.
is like this was their last Wembley date.
Okay, because I think there was like some footage. I kind of say it was before the Liverpool game, where it was like quite a few of the Arsenal players were there. So Marino was there, Calafiori was there, all in a box.
Oh,
So
nice.
you are, man. Like you got similar interests
I
to
was,
some of our
yeah.
heroes.
Yeah, and a lot of other people. Yeah. No, it was really good. Have you been to Coldplay before? I think you've been, right?
I've not.
Oh, you've
I've
not?
not.
Oh, okay.
No, I've
You're not a
not.
fan.
I actually don't mind them.
Mm.
Gemma, my wife, really doesn't like them.
Oh,
So
okay.
I
So
don't
you
know for
can't
whatever reason
go.
she doesn't. But yeah, no. Like probably not big enough a fan to like seek out a concert. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a
man.
good concert, actually. To be fair, like it's just all the lights and everyone gets a wristband. It lights up and in sync with the music, and it's pretty cool. Like it makes for a good kind of like event. Yeah. So that was good. And then obviously yesterday up early. Early kickoff. It's just a nightmare, really, when you've had a late night the night before. Obviously, went to the game, and then, like you said, had a pretty big sesh from. So it's quite funny actually. So I met my friends after the game in Westfield. Got to Westfield, sat down at a table in a restaurant, literally about to order, and then they said, "Yeah, everyone's evacuating Westfield because there was a fire." I don't know if you heard about this. There was a fire in
Yeah, I
the
saw
car
something.
park.
Yeah.
And they literally evacuated Westfield. So we were sort of scrambling around, walking around outside, trying to work out what to do. Ended up in Liverpool Street, and yes, had a lot to drink. I didn't get home till 3:30 this morning. I was up again at 8:30. I think my son had a football match, so yeah, I'm ready for bed.
Very
But
busy.
wanted to talk to you first about
But
Arsenal.
I mean, on that kind of note, Saturday early kickoffs usually have that home atmosphere of being a little bit like everyone's a bit hungover, right? Because it's, you've not had the chance to really get tanked up. Most people have to get, if it's a 12:30 kickoff, you're probably in the area at latest sort of 11:30 or whatever.
Mm.
It has that reputation, early kickoffs, right, for just not having the greatest home atmosphere. I don't. Do you remember that time? Do you remember when the season, right? But do you remember like, the Queen died and there were games that were postponed or something like this?
Mm.
And then our game, something happened whereby one of our games got postponed. We were playing Brentford or something like this, and it moved to an early kickoff. And we played really well and basically won really easily. And I remember like there was these things going around on social media where all these rival fans, I can't remember which the rival team, we're just talking about how Arsenal was so lucky the Queen saved them because they got to like have their game rescheduled to an early kickoff, so the home atmosphere was worse for the opposite. Like, do you know what I mean? And I was like, oh my god, that is extreme extreme stuff. But anyway, the point is, the atmosphere is allegedly generally worse on the early kickoff on a Saturday. How was it? So I wasn't there, obviously.
You
Didn't have
went
the
there. Yeah, you
fortune of
couldn't
being
make
there.
it.
But how was the atmosphere?
Exactly what you said. When we walked in, because obviously we always walk in, as in I say walk in, sorry, go to our seats. We always go to our seats pretty late on, right? Like 5 minutes before kickoff, something like that, and we make it sort of just in time for the players walking out, and North London forever. And normally at that point, most people are in their seats, and most of the crowd's in the ground, and everyone sort of, I wouldn't say it's necessarily loud, but you kind of sense that kind of anticipation. The match is about to start, type of thing, and everyone's just excited. And I remember walking down the stairs to our seats, and I said to Aaron, I said, "It's a bit quiet, isn't it?" And he said, "Yeah, early kickoff, man. Like, yeah, I hate." And he Aaron and being Aaron and said, "Yeah, I hate these early kickoffs, man. So shit."
I can picture him saying
yeah.
picture his voice, literally those words.
So yeah, it was a little bit flat actually. But yeah, like you say, there's obviously reasons for that. I don't know, like it is a bit of a weird one just in general, right? Because we've become so good, and I know that like any opposition fan listening to this, if there is any, are going to say, well, you guys can't really be classed as being that good if you haven't won anything and all the rest of it. But look, we're obviously a very, very good football team, right? And we're at a very, very high level now. But I guess everyone's just become accustomed to it now. Like there was that season a couple of years ago when it kind of came out of the blue and we challenged for the league, and yeah, like it was like a proper buzz for that season and probably the season after. And now it just feels like this is the norm. And so it's almost like I think the next level in terms of obviously the big games will be the big games and the atmosphere will be good. And I think everyone we like well up for the whatever City next weekend, for example. But yeah, I think some of these games like Forest is not like it's not a given, it's not a gimme, right? Forest are a good team. They had a very good season last season, and so I kind of anticipated just a little bit more. Yeah, like I say, just a bit more nervousness in the air kind of thing, because it was it could have been a tricky fixture. Obviously, it didn't end up being a tricky fixture, but it could have been. But excuse me, it livened up. Obviously, I mean, we can get into the game, but I think the goal was basically the trigger for atmosphere changing somewhat. But I would say over the course of the 90 minutes, it wasn't, it was just a standard kind of atmosphere. It wasn't particularly great, but it wasn't that bad either.
Yeah, no, I can imagine that. I think it was a good point you made about the expectation level as well, because I think always Arsenal fans have, I suppose, rightly been analysed in that even before this like little period under Mikel Arteta when we've been doing quite well, I think there's been this accusation around our expectation as fans being a bit too high. So basically, our support is completely contingent on us putting really good performances in and winning games. And because we went through a long period of not really doing that, the atmosphere hasn't been great, But I think you're right now. We've got this like really weird. We're in this really weird place now where I think we do go in and we just expect Arsenal to be quite good, and I think we're quite lucky because we are actually generally quite good at the moment. I do worry about the time when suddenly that changes again, But anyway, maybe that's not for today because we are good and we had a really good victory. And I'd be really keen to know kind of what your takeaways were, because obviously I'm watching it at home, and therefore can watch it in a slightly different way. I have the replays, I have the commentary, I have all that kind of stuff. And I know only too well that when you're in the ground and you watch it, sometimes you pick up on different things. Sometimes you appreciate things a little bit more. What were your kind of main takeaways? I mean, it's 3-0. It's another clean sheet, a dominant win. That's what, like, did we win? Did we beat Leeds 5-0 or 4-0? I can't remember now. Was it
5? Wasn't it?
I think it was 5, wasn't it? Yeah, it was 5, right? That's 8. That's 8 goals in 2 home games. No goals conceded. What were the main takeaways for you, mate?
Yeah, I think dominant's a good word to describe it. Like it really didn't. I think I expected a bit more from Forest. I know that obviously Andrew's just come in and there's potentially new manager bounce, which he just did not have. That wasn't the case at all. But yeah, I think I expected just a bit more from Forest. Maybe not really watching them this season because obviously they got spanked by West Ham a couple of weeks ago, didn't they, at home? But more so just based on what they've done last season. And I don't know, it's a bit of a weird one. It kind of felt like Arsenal were just very, very good in all areas. Like it wasn't a case. It didn't feel like a game. And you can correct me in this because I've probably missed certain things, or like you said, you don't. When you don't see the replays, you maybe don't pick up on certain chances that maybe were fantastic chances, but we can't see them because they're down the other end to us, for example. But it didn't really feel like a game where Arsenal were all over Forest and creating chance after chance. It didn't feel like that sort of game. But equally, it just never felt like we were in trouble. So it felt like a very solid kind of Arsenal performance, and it felt like everyone. Like I can't really think of a player that had a bad game. Equally, I can't necessarily say there was one player that was absolute standout. I mean, there's obviously going to be a couple, but there wasn't sort of a single player that I thought was amazing, but it just felt like everyone was like a 7, 7.5, 8 out of 10 type of kind of performance. And I think across the team, yeah, we were just very, very good, very solid. I think the other thing that I probably picked up on, just picking like, well, talking about a couple of specific players, is it did really feel like the game. I wasn't at the Leeds game, right? So I don't know, and I don't even know if I was going to mention Madueke, and I don't know if he even was he. Did we? Was he? Was he? I can't remember if he came on
Yeah, I
in
think
that game.
he started against Leeds on the left wing.
He did, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't. So obviously, I don't know what the reception was for him from the crowd in that game, but it did feel like almost he had a very good game, right? And it was, the way he plays, he gets people, out of their seats, and he gets people kind of excited just by the fact that he is obviously very direct, and he's an exciting player, he's a flair player in some ways. But it felt like the game where the crowd really kind of like took to him, if you know what I mean. There's obviously been all this kind of talk about, we've heard it right since we signed him in the summer. We spent too much on him, and why we're giving Chelsea so much money for all their players, and why we're signing Chelsea cast-offs, and all of these things that people have thrown around. And you kind of just, he really, I don't know, it was almost kind of like, I guess my worry with Madueke was, it's a mentality thing. Like, obviously we know he's a good player. I guess we don't really know how good yet, right? But I was genuinely worried that he might come in, and if he had a couple of bad games and the crowd, it's very easy then for the crowd to just get on his back, right? Especially at home. And that obviously hasn't been the case. He's especially on yesterday, he did really, really well. And it just felt like almost like a bit of a coming of age type of game for him. And it just felt like the crowd, like his ovation, the ovation that he got when he went off, when he got subbed off, was like really, really good. So that was the other thing that kind of stood out for me was, just Madueke. His performance overall I was really impressed with him. Just very direct. He was constantly beating his man or constantly causing him a problem. Kind of the output was there. The final ball was there. His set pieces, his corners from that left-hand side, in-swinging corners were really good, which is like almost, it's not like we struggle in that department, but it's nice to have another potential corner taker or set piece taker. So like, definitely Madueke for me. I think that was it was just quite nice more than anything, right? It's just quite nice to, it almost feels like there's probably still people that are waiting in the wings to just absolutely destroy him when he does have a bad game. I'm sure that's going to happen, unfortunately. But I think he shut a few people up with a really good performance, and obviously he played well at Anfield a couple of weeks ago as well. So I think, good signs for him. And I was also really impressed with Wanyeri, actually, because I don't know how you think it. I don't know. Again, I've seen the highlights. I've not really watched any kind of post-match analysis or anything. But with Wanyeri, it's, last season he was like he was almost like not really the X factor player. He's not that, but he's almost like the kind of unknown, kind of jack in the box type. You don't know what you're going to get from him because we don't know enough about him. But every time he came on, every time he was given minutes, he was just super, super exciting, right? And he's obviously at that age where he's very, very fearless. But and that carries forward into this season because he's obviously still so young, and he's barely played first team football for us when you think about it. But when he came on, for me anyway, I don't know if you felt this, for when he came on for Odegaard, I didn't have that sense of like, oh shit, like with obviously, yes, there is disappointment that Odegaard's got injured again. It looks like it could be, it was obviously his shoulder again, but and you have that feeling like, oh god, like what if he's not back for City? But equally, and this might be a more general thing across the squad now and just the depth of the squad that we have, but I really felt comfortable with Wanyeri taking his place. And I didn't really worry that much about, okay, where's the creativity going to come from? Or, what are we going to do without Odegaard? Whereas I think maybe last season and previous seasons, that was a genuine worry. And he was like I say, he was really, really impressive. And you would not watch him and think that he's, what is he now, 18? Is he 18?
I think so.
And he just came into the game, and I don't think he was necessarily spectacular, but every time he gets on the ball, he's just very, very assured, super confident. Generally picks the right pass or makes the right decision. And he wants the ball, right? Like obviously he wants the ball because he's that sort of player. But he's just, yeah, I don't know, I'm just so impressed. Like, he's obviously come into the game at a bit of a weird time, right? Kind of like was it middle end of first half?
It was a bit early, wasn't it? Wasn't it a bit earlier than that? It
Was
was
it earlier? Sort of 20
It
minutes,
might,
was
it
it?
might not be. It may
25
be about
minutes,
20
somewhere
minutes.
around that. Yeah, I can't remember
no,
either.
fair enough. Fair enough. It's around that. Yeah, mid-time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously not expecting to come in at that point or get subbed in. And yeah, man, like I don't know, like I just really impressed with him as well. Like for basically a kid.
Did it surprise you him coming on? Because obviously there would have been the possibility that if Odegaard had gone off, then as someone who can play 10, he was already on the pitch.
Yeah.
Arteta would have had a very, very easy kind of option to say, okay, maybe I move Eze into the 10 and I've got either Martinelli or Trossard I can bring on to put on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Were you surprised that he didn't do that, or like, did you think, given what we had seen in pre-season and given I think the minutes that Nwanere's had so far, even since the season started, being in that 10 space, was that kind of a natural thought for you that was what was going to happen?
It feels like, I mean, now I think, yeah, I didn't even cross my mind, to be honest, that, he could have gone with that. He could have even potentially, and it wouldn't really be his kind of normal position so far, but even just bringing Rice back in, or, subbing Rice on, for example, and playing him could have been an option. But no, I mean, to be honest,
putting Marino, he could have put Marino
Yeah.
as a 10, what he did against Liverpool. Yeah.
But no, not really. Like, I think that's the point I'm trying to make, really. It's just that kind of completely comfortable with Nwaneri coming in. And if Odegaard is out for, let's say, a few weeks, whatever it is, like, I don't have any concerns about Nwaneri filling in for a few games. And if anything, like, it's a bit of a weird one because Odegaard's obviously been kind of like, he's obviously key to how we play, but at the same time, I don't think that I don't know how, it'd be good to get your sort of view on this, if you agree or not, but I don't think he's been, put it like this. I think if he wasn't captain, I'm not sure he gets picked as often as he does. Like, basically, he's one of the first names on the team sheet, right? And Arteta loves him. I don't know if he's been at the level or at the level that he can reach, or we've seen from him before. And I think there's a few other players now, like you said, Eze potentially in that position, Nwaneri, that genuinely could and are challenging him for that position. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you sort of.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a very simple way I look at the Odegaard thing is, if you look at Odegaard from 2 seasons ago, that Odegaard is undroppable. Yeah, let's say even if you took that Odegaard now of 2 seasons ago and you put him in right now, that's undroppable. Yeah, so he would always get in the team. If you took Odegaard of last season and put him in, kind of what we have right now in this squad, I completely agree with you. He's not undroppable. He's not, because his level, it wasn't bad last season, but it just wasn't elite. And I think the really cool thing is now with our squad options is we don't have to be okay with having to play someone into form and hope. And yeah, I think that we talked about this last season a lot. I remember Aaron used to talk about it a lot because one of his biggest concerns was Odegaard being a single point of failure. The point of Odegaard is our 10. And if he's not playing well, if he's injured, then whoever comes in is going to be such an obvious drop off. And it was such an obvious drop off. So it was like that obvious single point of failure. But I think what's really important is 2 things, right? One, that you have players who can just play the position and it not seem like much of a drop off, but also have players who can come in and not necessarily have to play the role in the same way, but just have a system or systems that can just adapt to not having Odegaard in them. And I think that's quite key with Nwaneri as an example. When Nwaneri is playing the Odegaard role, he's not playing it like Odegaard plays it. and that's fine. That's exactly how it should be because he's not Odegaard. So it's cool from two sides. I think one on the play, you got to credit Nwaneri for being able to come in, do his thing, understand what the team needs, understand what's needed of him in that position. But I think you also have to compliment the rest of the squad and Arteta to a certain extent of being able to say now that, okay, if we don't have Odegaard, we've got Nwaneri, we might have someone else, and actually we're going to find a way of being potent still. And we didn't have that last year. It didn't seem like we did, and we have it this year. So yeah, no, I was really pleased. And I was really pleased that he did go with the option that he did. I was pleased that he brought on one area and he didn't say, okay, I'm going to put Eze as 10 and someone else wide. Because I think that's another show of faith to one area as well. And I think it's really good for his confidence and his development. And I do wonder if it was another team, maybe someone who, a team that perhaps were in a stronger situation. I say that, because, Forest have just come off that loss. They've just sat their manager, new situation with Arsenal at home. I wonder maybe if it was, slightly more complicated kind of situation, would he have actually gone a little bit more conservative and maybe done the whole bring Declan Rice on and put Marino up there? But we'll never know. And I think, at the end of the day, I think Nwaneri did play the role well. And I think what Nwaneri's doing quite well is last season, he got his majority of minutes on the right wing and he played it with a lot of freedom and a lot of bravery in the way that you can do, I think, when you're a winger. And I think to a certain extent, he's had to rein that in, but still managed to play with personality. And he's doing that, right? Reining in the sense that, you don't want to lose the ball in central areas in the same way that you can get away with losing the ball on the right wing or on the left wing. You just can't lose it in those central areas because it's not only dangerous, but it's a complete antithesis to how we play as a team. Arteta's nightmare, absolute nightmare, is losing the ball in central areas. It's why we don't attack as much in central areas. It's basically for that. So real credit to everyone in and mainly Nwaneri, I think for really like adapting to that role, and he'll continue to adapt and get better and learn and I think that's really cool. So yeah, look, I echo that, and I'm interested about like to go back to Madueke because yeah, look, I thought he had a brilliant game, and I think that everything you said was really spot on. I think he's that sort of player where he'll just get you excited as a fan, like it's just really fun to watch him. And I think partly why it's really fun to watch him is it feels like how he plays is very like system agnostic. So I think he's just one of those guys who goes like, I want to play on the wing and I want to get the ball and I want to run at people. Like I just want to run at people and I want to like try and be direct. I want to try and get around my man. I want to put the ball in. I want to try. And his stats all showed that last season, right? Like, so his stats showed that he's someone who just wants to sort of be a goal threat. Things that he does generally leads to a shot, either by him or by someone else. Yeah. So it's cool him being that system agnostic. He'll just play the same way and always try and take on his man. And I think it was really refreshing because, we've seen Saka's amazing and like he's probably one of the best decision makers in world football in his position, right? He just makes such good decisions all the time. And so this is definitely not me criticizing Saka, but he also is someone who might make some safe decisions. There are times where he might kind of be able to just take his man on, but go, okay, do you know what? I don't want to lose the ball here. I'm going to play a safer pass, and that might be the right thing to do. But it's kind of cool having someone who doesn't care as much about that. It's just kind of fun sometimes. And like you make a very, very good point. I'm sure we'll get frustrated. I'm sure there'll be games where people are going to get in his back, and rather he didn't lose the ball in that position, but maybe we just need a couple of Mavericks, right? So
yeah, it's what we missed, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like it's definitely been a gap because it's kind of like what we thought Martinelli was going to become, and we saw signs of that in his early Arsenal career. And it feels like he's now very much become an Arteta system player, and a lot of that kind of flair and unexpectedness and just that kind of like randomness, almost like he's almost like he's not been coached out of him, but it doesn't feel like he can express that as much in this system, or maybe just at the moment doesn't have the confidence to do it. But yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's quite, I mean, just on Madueke, really maybe last point, because obviously I've not seen any kind of proper highlights and I've not watched the game back, but it did feel like he not just looked good on the ball, but he was really kind of effective with crossing and getting to the byline and making things happen and trying to create something. And was that how it when you actually, because a lot of it was down the
Certainly,
other end to me. So yeah.
certainly was. And you start thinking about this in a bit of a deeper way, right? What I mean by that is, sometimes we can kind of very superficially kind of go, okay, this guy's good at taking on players, and like that might work. Sometimes that might not. But I think what's quite cool is we're already quite a good team, and we've got quite a lot of good players. And why I think that's an important point is when Madueke is running at people. This is what it felt like. It felt a bit like that against Liverpool as well, but it felt like that very much so against Nottingham Forest. Was there was so much indecision that was being caused not just by the fullback that he's running against, but by the other players as well, by the other opposition players, whether that's defenders or midfielders, tracking some of our other players. Because you're not just in a situation, right, where you're worried about Madueke. If Madueke is going to break through, suddenly the structure is going to be compromised, and you've got a lot of other good players who are there to give Madueke options. So it feels like he's this little bit of X factor that we could really do with, particularly in these games where we've got these teams who are going to sit back a little bit. Like he's going to make them think twice about doing it, because you can't just double up on him. You can't just do that,
Mm.
right? We've got too many other good players. So yeah, look, to specifically answer your question, yeah, it felt like he was very effective. It felt like um perhaps again to that point, the fact that they couldn't double up on him meant that he was always finding a way to be dangerous, to get in behind, to have a pass on. The one thing I was thinking about after the game is you probably think the thing that he probably needs to work on is his finishing, because you think if he really developed a Saka level finish, because Saka is, the more I think about it now, when I kind of look back on, when you don't have Saka, you know what you're missing sometimes. Like, Saka's such a good finisher. Actually,
Mm.
I think I really underrated how good a finisher he is, not just with his left foot, but with his right foot as well. And I think if Madueke can add that level of finishing, he becomes a serious prospect. He becomes a really, really, really dangerous player. So yeah, I mean, look, let's see. Obviously, look, it was, maybe he had a really good game. We need to keep watching. It'll be really interesting to see what we do against Man City if he plays against Man City. I think it probably looks like Saka's not going to be ready, right? So the likelihood is he will play, and if he does play against Man City, will he play exactly the same way? And if I was a betting man, I'd say he would be, because that's what it seems like. He is that kind of guy. But it'd be really cool to see if he can be as effective against them. Yeah, very, very encouraged.
Definitely, definitely. And we were saying before, it felt like the game. It was kind of like I said, we as I was saying at the start, we were pretty comfortable. I don't remember a moment in that first half up until the point that we scored where, like, normally in these games, right, in the past, and like you're always with me when we go to these games, like it does feel like there's always a couple of hairy moments. Like Raya has to make like an unbelievable save, or even though we've got a fantastic defense, so obviously best defense in the league and all the rest of it, but it does feel like we, as everyone does, it's the Premier League. Like we do concede the odd chance, but it didn't feel like that happened at all. Like I can't think of Forest having an opening or a chance in that first half at all. But it at the same time, it took a pretty mental Zubimendi um,
Mm.
wonder strike really to break the deadlock. Yeah, I mean, look, we've not really spoken about Zubimendi that much, and it's a bit of it's interesting, isn't it? Because we've obviously bought so many players this summer, and it's for me, it feels like Zubimendi is like it's like he's been with us for years in terms of he's just come in to a very, very kind of like tough position in the middle of the park from another league. And obviously, look, he's a quality player, not just because we're saying it because he plays for us, but if he's being picked for the Spanish national team, basically the best team in the world at the moment, arguably, but probably. He's obviously he is a genuine top level player. But what's impressed me so much is that one, he's come in and he's settled in so quickly, and he's formed, this kind of like partnership. I mean, obviously on Saturday it was with Marino, but Declan Rice normally. And I think the other really interesting thing is like this is going to sound contradicting. I can't tell you. I wouldn't be able to tell you if you asked me what he's really, really, really good at. But then I think that's a sign of the fact that he's just come in and he's doing his thing. Like he's just doing his thing, and the team. You wouldn't, based on how based on kind of like how we attack and how we play and how we build up. It doesn't feel any different to last season in a lot of ways, or in previous seasons. I know he's a very, very different profile player to Thomas Partey, of course, but do you know what I mean? Like it just feels like it's been sort of seamless in some ways, and I'm just massively impressed with like him coming in. Obviously, the goals, like we're talking about him because he scored these two goals, and one of them was brilliant. But yeah, like what are your thoughts on Zubimendi?
There's a broader point here, which I think they didn't really talk about in the analysis that I saw of the game in England. There's a really broader point here. Let's think about it for a second, right? If you think about this season, if you look at how Arsenal were last season and how good we were last season, particularly towards the end of last season, whatever. Think about all the good things we do. And a lot of it you put down to the fact that you've had a coach who's been able to work with this team for a good amount of years and has got these principles and these frameworks just totally drilled, right? We defend in a certain way that every single man on the pitch, every sub that comes on, they know exactly what they're meant to do. They're so well drilled. I wouldn't even say arguably anymore. We are the best defensive side in Europe. It's so clear, right? But the remarkable thing when I think about it, right, is if you look at the Nottingham Forest game, let's look at the lineup. The front three were all signed this summer. They weren't even signed at the beginning of the summer. Like Madueke was sort of signed towards the beginning of pre-season. Gyokeres came in the middle, didn't have a pre-season, and Eze was signed after the season started. Then let's just take Odegaard out for a second because he only played for 20 odd minutes. And basically, Ethan Ranieri playing as a number 10. He's 18. In centre midfield, you had Zubimendi, as you said, summer signing, and Mikel Merino, who's basically our backup 8. Declan Rice normally plays that role. Yeah. So I've basically just in that number in itself, those are 4 new signings out of those 6 players. One's and the other one's an 18-year-old, and the other one is the backup 8. Then even when you look at the defenders, Calafiori wasn't really starting left back last season, and Christian Mosquera is a new signing.
Yeah,
that's so many new players to be in the starting lineups. It's unreal if you think about it as a quantity. That's so many new players, an entire forward line, completely new players. Mate, there was not one part of the Nottingham Forest game that didn't look like a completely drilled, articulate Arteta team. They all just played as if they had been playing together with those Arteta principles, with whatever we've been doing well for the last couple of years. They were all on that page. Now, like there were things that maybe clearly we still need to work on. Like I think the relationship between some of our players, I think we still need to figure out how best to work with Gyokeres when we've got the ball. There's definitely some stuff that we need to get better at that will happen with time, but just structurally and like basic principles, like it's just incredible how consistent yesterday's performance was with how we have been for a couple of years. So I think that's remarkable. I'm not well versed enough in football coaching to understand how exactly you do that and why we've been able to kind of replicate that regardless of this very, very new lineup. But then going to your Zubimendi point specifically, I mean, you're spot on, right? He's basically come into a completely new league in an incredibly hard position. And like I have thought that for the first few games this season, it wasn't that he's bad. I absolutely don't think he was bad at all. But I thought that there was maybe a slight adjustment needed to the pace of the game. Like I thought there were times, particularly where he had the ball, where maybe he just wasn't getting enough time as he thought he was. He was going down for stuff that perhaps he thought he would get fouls for, but in the Premier League, you don't. He was kind of making a few fouls that were just timing. It felt like he wasn't intentionally making the foul. It's just that actually the pace was a little bit faster than he thought. So a little bit of adjustment. But then when I look back on those kind of on the stats around those games, you actually see that he's done loads of work. He's done, more interceptions than anyone else. He's kind of won so many ground duels. So clearly he is doing all those things. Yeah, I guess a big compliment I can give him in the sort of vein that you said is, Rodri won the Ballon d'Or, and genuinely there are times where I don't know what are Rodri's best qualities. Like I don't know when I think about Rodri, what are the things that he really does well? Like what are the 5 things that he is like absolutely elite at? And this is a guy who won the Ballon d'Or. They're very similar players, I think, in that way. So you know what, like maybe it's just us lay people, Mice. We just don't,
Yeah.
we don't understand it well. But yeah, I mean, I wonder, Mice. I don't know. Like, do you think actually this is a case where Arteta's gone, okay, look, I want to evolve our system to something, and if I want to evolve it to this system, I want a number 6 who can do all these things. Zubimendi is my guy, and therefore, are we giving Zubimendi a bit too much credit? Maybe that's not the right way of putting it, but have we basically created a system where it's perfect for him, and hence, therefore, it's not actually a surprise that he is doing this well? And like, I don't know enough about Zubimendi, like prior to Arsenal, to know. Um, but from what I understand, whatever I'd read leading up to us signing him was actually when he played for Spain, it was more in line with his strengths than actually his role for Sociedad. It sounded like at Sociedad, actually, the way that they played wasn't necessarily the best fit for him. He was just a very talented player who sort of, was still able to make it work. And so, do you just think this is a case where we've, kind of created the system? Because I think one of the things that it seems like we've changed to slightly this season is that both of our central midfielders seem to actually sit as 6s more. And like Calafiori's been playing this like mad free roaming kind of like he stays in the sort of 8-10 position sometimes, Um, like, and I wonder, therefore, is this just a case where we've just gone, right, this is what we're going to do next season, and this is the guy who's going to play that position because this is the perfect guy for that position, and that's what we have. I don't know,
Maybe,
but
yeah. Like
yeah,
it's yeah. I mean, because when you think about kind of Thomas Partey in this team, right? Like Thomas Partey on the ball had some like unbelievable moments, right? He is a guy that can, you can turn on a man in the middle of the park. He had that confidence to do it. Sometimes it didn't go to plan, and he'd lose the ball in the worst possible area. And he's obviously got the ability to, play a ball through the lines. Like he was a really, really kind of. But I think when Thomas Partey signed, we all thought this is our kind of like tough tackling DM, quite a big guy. And he wasn't just that. Like he had that in him, but he was a lot more than that. He's pretty athletic player, a lot of qualities. And I don't know, man. Like maybe there's also an element of like our back four, well, especially our centre backs, right? And well, actually, let's just say our back four. But when you think of Timber, Saliba, obviously didn't play yesterday, and Gabriel, like they are such good defenders. It's almost like, do you need a typical DM, right? Do you need this guy that's gonna break up the play? And I know Zubimendi is very good at that, right? But do you need this kind of like a guy that's just really, really good at like tackling and being aggressive and like just sitting really deep? Or are we going to benefit more from someone who's a bit more kind of cultured and a bit more can do a bit of everything, and a bit more of an all-rounder? And maybe that's kind of like the way that he's gone. Because we like you said, man, like we've genuinely got some elite defenders. Like Timber, obviously, that first season that he missed, but we've seen like last season and the start of this season just how good. Like he's unbelievable as well. Like he's absolutely unbelievable, right? And now Calafiori, like you say, like he's now starting ahead of Lewis Skelly. I came into the season, Lewis Skelly's got that spot nailed down, that left back spot. Like he was so good. The Champions League run last year when he came into the team, everything like he was. It didn't feel like there was a chance of him being dropped. I thought Calafiori was going to be the kind of like, like the kind of not utility player, but the guy that comes in when someone else is injured, or bring him on at 70, 75 minutes. So yeah, man, like I mean, like it's so kind of like intricate, right? Like all of these tactical nuances, like you say, like it's very hard to get your head around a lot of this stuff because it's so kind of like just nuanced. And I mean, the amount of detail and thinking that must go into it from the coaching perspective. But yeah, like quite possibly, I think it'll be interesting to see in those matches where, because it like obviously the Liverpool game was a bit of a weird one, but otherwise, I think we've played teams where you'd expect us to dominate the ball so far, and we play like the Forest game yesterday was a really good example where it just felt it was just all us, even though it wasn't, like I said before, it wasn't like incessant pressure and like chance after chance, but it just felt like it was all us. Like we just had complete control on the game. And it'll be interesting to see in those games where we don't have control, like maybe the tougher games in the Champions League, or obviously there'll be tougher games in the league, and we are under the cosh a bit. Like, how does Zubimendi fare in that? Because Thomas Partey was quite good, right? Like even just dropping into defense, like for example, for set pieces and things like that, or he has that ability to clear a ball, or aerially he was pretty good. Like he had certain qualities that I'm not sure Zubimendi will have or will show. So I think that's going to be interesting to see, like that side of his game. But yeah, man, like super impressed. And like, and maybe just last point, obviously he scored a couple of goals yesterday, and I think both of the goals that he scored, like again, I don't know, and I didn't know enough about him, but it feels like both of those goals that he scored were not the kind of goals that he would normally score. Like I don't think he's ever scored from outside the box. Apparently, I saw a stat. And
yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think they
yeah.
said that. Yeah, either the second or the first time he scored a goal from outside the box. And that's similar with his header. I think he hadn't scored a header in 2 years or something like this.
It's interesting, yeah. But yeah, they're super impressed. So yeah, like it bodes well, right? Because like I say, he's come straight in, and he's fitted straight in, and that's been really good. We've got a comment as well. Just very quickly put it on the screen. I think Zubimendi's positioning is what separates him from Partey. Thomas Partey would have to tackle and sprint back from some decent positioning, but Zubi is in the lane, making it harder for ops. Thanks for
that's probably
got me.
Yeah, that's probably very fair, right? It's probably a very fair point because Arteta talks about his intelligence a lot. Right? He talks about Zubimendi just being very intelligent, and I think a player that he used to describe in a very similar way was Jorginho, and Jorginho used to do that pretty well as well, right? Jorginho was pretty good at like just being in very sensible places, and definitely that's clearly something that if you get someone who's that clever in your team, they're probably going to be doing things that you don't even realize are that great because they're stopping things happening before they're even happening. Passes aren't getting played through those lanes. So it doesn't even look like they're making an interception because they're not making an interception, but they're there stopping, a dangerous pass being played. So yeah, look, I think that's a really, really good point. And maybe that thing that he has over Jorginho is just that ability on the ball. He's just got a great range of pass, isn't he? And he just does simple things like really, really well. It is super interesting, man. I know it's early doors, it's early in the season. It'd be really interesting to see how we continue to evolve. I thought it was really cool, right? Obviously, like if you imagine you're him, and you've played with Marino twice in the last week before that for Spain, and then you get to start. It must be really fun for them, right? Like stuff like that's really cool, I think, as well. They clearly enjoy playing together. I thought Marino was really good as well. It's hard. Maybe we shouldn't sort of get over the top because Nottingham Forest were in all kinds of turmoil. I suppose, and Mosquera deserves a massive shout out as well. By the way, like I think he's just incredible, and I think a couple more performances like that will just deserve its own piece of analysis on what the hell have we got here, in terms of a player. But I mean, one thing I wanted to ask you is about Gyokeres and how you felt that he did, and whether what we're seeing is going to be typical of what we see for the rest of the season. In that, like Haaland last season, but I think even kind of the season before when he had a great season, scored loads of goals. He was sort of that player that wouldn't get very many touches in a game, but he'd score a goal, and then you don't care because he scored a goal or he scored 2 goals. You didn't care that if he wasn't involved in lots, he just was kind of doing what a bags man does. Do you know what I mean? Like, but obviously when it doesn't go well, and you don't score, then you sit there and you kind of go, what the hell? Like, what did they do all game, sort of thing. And I felt like it was another game sort of like that with Gyokeres against Forest, because he didn't do that much, but then he scored, and then he hit the post afterwards.
Yeah.
So then you kind of go, is that just who he is? And that's what, you know, we've got to accept, and actually not criticize in any way. He's just a guy that the ends will justify the means. We shouldn't care like about the fact that he doesn't touch the ball that much, and, you know, doesn't do in inverted commas that much, you know, in terms of like, you know, touching the ball. Or do you think that we do just still need to really adapt him, and we're just not seeing the best of him yet? You know, maybe he needs to get sharper as well. I don't know. What were your thoughts on him generally?
Yeah, but probably a bit of both, to be honest, mate. In the sense that, like, I mean, look, Kai Havertz, arguably, you know, there's going to be a decision for Arteta to make, right? And it could just come down to sort of opposition and game state and all the rest of it, like who he starts. But there's a legitimate, well, a number of fans will probably say Havertz starts ahead of Gyokeres, and a number of fans, like, it might even be a 50-50 between the fan base on who they'd prefer to start once Havertz is back. And obviously Havertz does offer you that completely different. He's obviously very, very different type of striker, right? So I don't, you know, I'm not really concerned. Like, I think for a striker, like you just mentioned, you know, do you think it's a case of he's just not kind of quite settled yet? But he's got 3 goals, right? Like, you know, you look up North and you look at Man United and Sesko, and I know that Sesko's maybe not played as many minutes, but, you know, he's obviously struggling. You know, United are struggling, he's struggling, and I think the thing that, I think the thing that kind of maybe just means I'm not really worrying about Gyokeres, even though, like you say, he's not necessarily this kind of drops deep and this Kai Havertz type of striker. But I think as long as he's staying in between the posts and he's in the right place at the right time, which obviously was for his goal, and he's putting it in the back of the net, like, I don't care, because I think there's going to be those tight games where we'll get a couple of chances, and we've seen it so many times over the years, right? Like, me and you have been going for so long, and there's been strikers that we've had, I'm not naming any names, but like there's been strikers or forwards that we've had where chances that should not be missed have been missed, and it's cost us big in a lot of games. And I think he's the guy, you know, Gyokeres feels like the guy that if he gets, let's say, 3 good chances, he'll probably score at least 1. And I think that's all you really need. Do you know what I mean? Like, unless the standards are so high and it's like, you know, you can't afford to miss a single chance. So you've got to, you know, I think as long as he's doing what he's doing, which is he's off the mark, which I think is a great thing to already, you know, to have already been, you know, he's already ticked that off. We've had a pretty tough start to the season in terms of the fixtures. He's on 3 goals. Looks like he's maybe starting to be like, even the kind of the because we haven't spoken about Eze yet, right? And that kind of left wing spot as well. But the fact that link up has happened so quickly. I know it's just 1 goal, it's just 1 assist, it's just one kind of situation. But the fact that Eze just seemed to know exactly what to do, where it wasn't a case of, right, let me cut back inside, or let me take a touch, or let me, you know, it was just pretty much look up, okay, my striker's in the box, I'm just going to fire it across. And I know he's going to, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, but we haven't had that for ages, man. Like, if that was Havertz, it's no disrespect to him and no criticism, but you don't know if Havertz is going to be in that position or if he's going to be 20 yards further back, because he's just literally created that opening for Eze to get in. Do you know what I mean? So, no, I think you could definitely see Gyokeres scoring, I don't know, like, I could see him scoring 20 Premier League goals this season, assuming he
easily.
Like, because he's
the way it's going at the moment, easily.
So, and I think that's what we needed, man. Like, we drew 14 games last season, or however many games it was. Like, we drew so many league games last season, and he might be the guy that helps us just, you know, win a few more of those, just by the fact that he's obviously a very, very good finisher, basically. And yeah, like, people are calling him like a flat track bully and all the, you know, but you could argue Haaland, you know, I mean, look, Haaland is elite, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that he only scores against the shit teams. It's not the case. But, you know, Haaland gets a massive proportion of his goals in against pretty crap teams. Like, he did it today against another crap team. So, no concerns for me. I think it's just going to be really interesting when Havertz comes back. Like, who does he start? How does Arteta manage that? Like, is he gonna has he got a guy that is his guy, and then the other player? I mean, obviously Havertz can play in other positions, right? So maybe that means that it would be Gyokeres and Havertz fills in at 9, or possibly in midfield when we need him to. I don't know, but yeah, no, I'm if anything, man, I'm just really excited because we've just got a different type of striker that we've just not had in so long. I really like the chance you mentioned, the chance where he hit the post. I was really interested because obviously he laid it off to, was it Madueke? I can't remember. Was it Madueke? And then he kind of makes a run around.
Because he starts on the left hand side, doesn't he?
Yeah. And I thought that was really interesting because it was almost like it was very like the opening was very easy for him in the sense it wasn't like he made like a really kind of clever run. It was literally he just ran around the back of Madueke and he receives the ball and he just hits it, and that was obviously down our end as well. So like it was quite nice to see, because it wasn't just a case of, right, I'm just going to go back into the box into like the 6-yard area and see if a cross comes my way. Like he actually attempted to try something different. So I think positive signs. But I think if you're a striker, the one thing you want to do is you just want to get off the mark. Like you just want to get your first goal, get your first couple of goals. He's done that. So I think just very, very positive so far. And like I say, I can see him scoring like a decent number of goals this season. Absolutely.
Yeah, the thing I hope to see from him soon is it's like getting the first goal. I'd like to see that. I know that sounds a bit odd, but like I think that so far, obviously his goals against Leeds and the goal the other day, we're already winning and we're in control. I'm not saying they weren't important goals; they were important goals, but we're already winning at that point. And I think that I'm really looking forward to seeing situations, particularly, not that I want to be in this situation, by the way, but like there'll be situations where we're in the 70th minute or so, and we haven't scored yet, and we need a goal, and we have possession, and there's a crowded penalty area, like the opposition are being pretty compact, pretty disciplined. I'm really intrigued to see how he does in those situations, because those are the situations where I think Havertz probably struggled a little bit to just kind of be that like very clumsy and effective like centre forward who will just kind of those things that sometimes you do and you don't realize that they are actually very skillful, but they are. And what I mean by that is, when the ball is bouncing around in the area and you're putting yourself about physically awkwardly and just getting that kind of shot on goal, that tap, that little header or whatever it is, to just kind of in a very messy situation. I'm quite looking forward to seeing how he does in those situations where there's not as much space. But I think he'll do well. And I echo your point. At the end of the day, if we keep playing well, he'll score lots of goals, whatever the case. But why don't we talk about Eze? Because I'm quite keen to know your thoughts on that as well. I would say, like, I think it was really cool to watch the game and learn a little bit more about how he would play that position potentially. How did it look like from the stands? Because he's quite different to Madueke, isn't he?
Yeah, very, very different. I think the thing that it felt like he really, really wanted to do was he was obviously coming inside onto his right foot, and he just really wanted to. That he scored that goal for Palace so many times, right? He just whips it into the far corner, kind of like what Saka does on the left a little bit, but not quite the same. And it felt like there was a couple of times where he was just trying to create that opening, and he was sort of coming inside a bit more, and ended up maybe passing. But like, again, similarly in some ways, like he's off the mark now in terms of, obviously he's got an assist, and that particular moment, like I said it to, I think I said it to the boys, or maybe I said it to someone after the game. I can't remember, but I was talking to someone. I remember saying, like, if that was Martinelli in that position that Eze was in when he crosses the ball for Gyokeres, like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure Martinelli necessarily does the same thing. Yeah, he probably doesn't.
He doesn't take it first time. He doesn't take it first time.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And that's the frustration that we've had with him, right? That's the frustration that we've had with Martinelli. And so that was just like really, really kind of like refreshing to see, like we don't score goals like that, right? We haven't scored goals like that in ages. It doesn't feel like that anyway. So, but I thought again, man, there's definitely not anything negative. I think Eze could probably like have a stinker, and I don't think anyone's going to say anything bad about him because everyone loves him, right? So,
he is.
but no, I
He's got
think
that going for him.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I was really, really impressed. I think, like I said right at the start, like everyone just seemed to have a very good game, even if he wasn't necessarily outstanding. But I think now, like he's now, like I don't know about you, man. Like it'd be good to get your thoughts, but I just can't see how Martinelli gets back in the team. I know that maybe we're seeing a bit of a newer Arteta, right, where we've got the depth now where you can rotate a bit. Like obviously Marino started yesterday ahead of Rice, and we never would have seen that last season. Like not very rare that we see Rice getting a rest.
Yeah. Mad,
And,
isn't it? Actually, to go back on that point, mad about us being in that situation where we could have so many key players injured, and he still thinks he can rest Declan Rice.
Did you see? Because Rice played something like in the 2 England games, I think he played like 80 something minutes and 60 something minutes. So he didn't play the full 90, but Marino played the full 90 in both the Spanish games.
Right. Okay.
And then when I think there was I don't know if you saw the what Arteta said after the game about how comes he went for Marino, and he basically said, and I'm probably like I'm getting, I'm not going to quote him, but it was along the lines of well, he scored a hat trick of whatever during the international break, like his like, he didn't say he was on fire, but it was almost like, he's like so kind of like buoyant and jubilant, like how could I not pick him type of thing. Yeah. I wanted to play him, like he's he's in such a good place, I wanted him in the team kind of thing, which is like that's like that's like a very different Arteta, like he's had his settled 11 forever, really, as long as I can remember. So yeah, I think that bodes well as well, because like it's obviously going to be another long, or hopefully it's going to be a long season with loads of games, and he's going to have to, maybe he's just learned, man. Maybe he's just learned from like a few players that probably have burnt out, like the Saka injury last season, the Saka injury again now, and a few other players. Like it got towards the end of last season and we just couldn't rotate, and players were, it was tough towards the end of the season, wasn't it? And yeah, maybe he's just sort of learned from that, and he trusts the squad a bit more.
I think learn's the right way, because he strikes as a very analytical guy, right? And I imagine, mate, last season there were so many games, weeks, whatever, where he went, oh, I really wish I had someone who could do this. I really wish I had another player who could play that position. I really wish I had. I reckon there were so many times where he was like, if I had this, if I had that, if I whatever, then I would have done this different. I reckon one of those guys, I imagine at the end of the season, goes through this big kind of like reflection and post-mortem and whatever. And like, I really get the sense that you have a coach that's liberated now to some degree. What was really cool as well, right, is that, and there's a lot of things I think that, again, maybe this is learning, or maybe this is how he has been for a while. We just don't know. But like the cool thing was in the post match, where they were talking to Eze and Madueke, and I can't remember which one of them said this or if they both said this, but they basically alluded to the fact that Arteta basically tells them, when you get the ball, I just want you to go create.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
It's
like he basically they allude to the fact that that Arteta is essentially saying, be you, like have the freedom, which is totally different, right, to this narrative that has been spun for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to like rewrite history or just pretend that like that means therefore it was always the case. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe actually he hasn't been saying that to some of the other players. I don't know. And maybe this is Arteta learning, or maybe this is Arteta saying it's not really learning. It's just I didn't think that I had players who could do it in that way, and now I do. I don't know what it is. But the fact of the matter is, it is what it is now. Like, I don't think those players are lying when they say the manager has told them to go express themselves and like be dangerous, essentially. So that's really cool. And I think it is a real, going back to you made the Martinelli point. This is going to be very interesting, mate, as to how this goes. Because I did want to ask you about the subs, because what I thought was really quite good that Arteta did was he probably didn't need to make the subs that he did, because he brought Max Dowman on against Leeds.
Yeah,
he could have done exactly the same thing. Like he could have brought Max Dowman on the right wing, and with the games in the bag, like the fans love Max Dowman. He's exciting. He's whatever. But he didn't do that, right? He brought on Trossard and he brought on Martinelli, and I thought that was quite good, because I think that he probably still does need to make everyone feel like they've got a chance. And if they will get opportunities. And when they get the opportunities, they've got to do something with the opportunity, because if they don't, someone else is going to come in. And I don't mean that to mean that, because Max Dowman didn't score or didn't play better, he didn't get on the pitch. But I think he does, at this stage of the season at least, need to keep players like Martinelli and Trossard believing. And I think it was cool that Trossard came in. It was basically his first touch that got the assist. It was one of his first touches that he got the assist, and it was a really good assist for Zubi as well. So I think that's great to have that kind of competition. And I remember you said this actually last season, and I can't remember if it was the January window, and we were talking about getting players in, and we were talking about left wingers or whatever. And I think we were saying, okay, but who is there? Like, who's good as a left winger? And I remember you made the point of, it's not even necessarily that they have to be better, but it's good for the competition, right? Like that competition for places thing. I've never historically lent on that way of thinking that much, but I think it is quite a good example now of why, that thought that you had is a very good one. Like, that you have these situations now where, genuinely speaking, you can't be a player who is going to have one or two average games. You will lose your place. Like, you will lose it. In every position, you will lose it at Arsenal right now, which is, I think, a very cool culture to have. So look, man, long way continue, and I think that it'll be interesting to see what lineup he goes with against Athletic Bilbao, given we've got Man City coming up on that weekend. It'll be really interesting, I think, as well, because Odegaard, I think we're not sure at this point how serious that kind of injury was. It looks like it was the right shoulder again. Were they being precautionary? Was he just in a lot of pain? But actually, it's not, too much of a problem. I don't know. Saliba allegedly is, running on grass again, and therefore might be back quicker than expected. It'll be really interesting to see what he does with his selection over the next couple of games, I think.
Definitely, mate. Just before we come on to that, and I guess like Bilbao and the City game, and I think we wanted to, we've just gone over an hour, so wanted to just talk about.
We don't record that often anymore, so
that's true. That's
maybe
true.
A bit more indulgent.
Do a marathon. We've had a few interesting comments actually in the chat, which is unusual for us because that means that people are watching. So, I mean, Russ. Hello, Russ. Good to see you back. It's been a long time. So we haven't seen Norgard yet, which is a good point, right? And I think that just kind of doubles down on the squad depth. Like, we've done such good work, not just this window, but in recent windows. I guess especially this window just gone, right, where we have a a guy that was he Brentford. I always say Brentwood because it's around the corner from me. It's such a bad, so annoying. Brentford captain, was he not? I think.
He was, yeah.
And he doesn't even get into. Was he fit at the moment? I actually don't know if he's fit, but
no, I think he's had this injury. But you remember the first game of the season, we didn't know that he was injured, and it was like, wow, he just hasn't made the squad. That shows how good our squad was. But then I think it came out pretty immediately afterwards that he was injured, and he seems to still be injured, which is. Yeah, definitely disappointing. But the fact is, we've got a squad that can cope for it. And I think Russ is right. This is like Norgard isn't some random player either, man. Exactly. I mean, it's a good point by Russ, right? I mean, this is Brentford's. Brentford were a decent team. Like, maybe not so much this season, although they got a good draw against Chelsea. But they're a decent team, and he was their captain and a really important player. And in fact, I think their manager was talking about it in their post-match against Chelsea about the fact that it has been a problem. Like, they lost Norgard, and he was such an important player for them. It's a really good player, man. Like, so hopefully the guy gets fit quickly, because we've got a number of games coming up that I think that, if he was fit, Arteta would certainly be using him in. I mean, I would imagine if he was fit, he could very well play against Bilbao away potentially. But then obviously we've got Port Vale coming up in the Carabao, and then we've got Olympiacos at home in the Champions League as well. So hopefully he gets fit, he can get minutes. But yeah, it's looking forward to seeing him actually. Yeah,
definitely. Also got a comment here from Moby. So your pal?
Yeah, man. I haven't seen him in ages. I've never been in ages. Oh man, that's a new handle, MGZ. Very cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna message him later. Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
Thanks for reaching out, man.
Definitely. And then Charles is I guess we've spoken a bit about Onyeri, but 0 key passes, lost possession 11 times, which I didn't realize. So this is the thing about when you go to the game and you don't really then, like I said, I was out after the game, so I didn't watch a lot of the post match stuff, so I didn't even realize that these were his sort of stats. But I mean, look, 0 key passes, that doesn't really concern me. Lost possession 11 times. I don't know. I'd maybe have to watch it back in a bit closer and see like what's he actually done. But yeah, I guess he's potentially the kind of player and plays in that position where that is going to happen. And there's nothing to suggest that Odegaard wouldn't have maybe had similar stats in some ways. Do you know what I mean? Like, so
it's a fair point there, Charles. Like, because I'll be honest, like I didn't know those stats. It certainly didn't feel like because those stats superficially look like therefore someone would have very obviously had a bad game. It didn't look like that to me. But I wonder whether that's partly because of the way that this game was played. It was played through the wings a lot. Like we did just put the ball wide quite a lot. It seemed like that was a game plan, and it was a very effective game plan. So it perhaps didn't look like, therefore, we were trying to funnel too much stuff through Nwaneri, and when he was losing the ball, it was in, annoying moments. I don't know. It certainly didn't feel that way. But let's be very clear about this, right? Nwaneri is an 18-year-old. He's not some seasoned pro who has loads and loads of minutes under his belt, let alone as a 10. So I think, when we're complimenting him, and certainly, I think I speak for you as well. I don't think we're saying this in the perspective that, if Odegaard's not around, like Nwaneri is just as good a number 10. It's not really that yet, but I think the whole point is that he is a very talented player, and clearly he's able to be effective in that role, maybe in a slightly different way. But he will get better, right? He's gonna grow. Yeah, he's a Odeguan Kenobi. What a great handle. Look, I agree with that, right? And we have to accept that. Right? We've got to accept that some of these young players, as talented as they are, and as much as we love them, they're going to have to learn and grow and develop, and I'm cool with that. And it's easier to do that when you're in a good team, right? You can get away with it when you're in a good team, and I think we are in that place. I will be interested to see, if that definitely is the plan now, right? If it is a case where if Odegaard's not available, Nwaneri is 10, not Eze, Nwaneri. I'll be really interested to see if that is planned. On the evidence of what we've just seen, that does seem like the plan. And I have to say something. I was educated and I was humbled to a certain degree as well. I think I think that I was very rigid in my thinking about Eze. I think I knew he was a talented player, but I just couldn't get my head around the fact that he wasn't an out and out left winger. And I think I really struggled, therefore, to understand exactly how he fits into this Arsenal team. And I think I was definitely too rigid in my thinking there, because like the thing that I noticed, even when he came on at Anfield, but obviously, against Forest, he's a really good football player. Like he's just really good. And I think as a result of him being really good, he's going to make it work, and we will make it work. And he's at that right point in his career as well, where he wants it so bad. Like there's not going to be, Eze's not going to be in a situation where he's getting played in a position which isn't his favorite and he's upset about it. He's not going to do that. This is it, right? This is it for him. He wants to make everything he can of this opportunity. And I'm very I've changed my mind completely about it already, in that like I very firmly think he should be our starting left winger now. I don't think there's an argument to it. The only argument I'd have against that is that there might be some situations where if Saka is starting on the right, obviously, Saka will always start on the right if he's fit. There may be some games where we go, actually, is Madueke going to be more effective? And because of the type of fullback he's facing and whatever. Maybe there might be a situation like that potentially. But let's assume Madueke is still predominantly the right wing alternative to Saka. I think Eze is quite comfortably, our starting left winger over Martinelli and Trossard, and I think just having a player of that ability on the pitch, I think will get us out of jail a lot this season. So yeah, that was very, very cool.
Cool. Another question from Charles. So what do we do about Liverpool and their last minute winners? They did it last season. This season again. Yeah, we were in the group chat when we Raj, and I didn't really watch the game, but I kind of put it on during the second half. Actually, I think I watched the whole of the second half, but I had the kids with me, so I wasn't watching it properly. And then you know, you sort of look at the time and you see it's like 65 minutes, 70 minutes, 75. And you're like thinking, oh, maybe. And I know you were watching it as well, right? And then so annoying.
I mean, this was more gutting, I think, than the other. I think this was the worst one because of how it happened. Like, as much as it's upsetting, a last minute winner or whatever, like if it's done through like pure quality, then you're there going, okay, whatever. Mate, this is just an absolute brain fade from the defender. Like, it's not even a dangerous, like, he does not need to do that. And you knew, I felt so sorry for him in that respect, right? The moment the penalty was given, you saw how distraught he was. Like, it's like he knew, he was like, what have I done?
Yeah.
Like, there was not danger there. So it's very annoying. And I think, like, it's to think that, you know, Liverpool haven't been that great and they've won every game is pretty annoying. But I'm still very much of it is early season. There's a lot that can happen. I am actually, despite the amount of points they've got, I'm pretty happy that they don't look exceptionally brutal. Like, they don't look like, you know, they don't necessarily look like a team that would have won their first 4 games, right?
Yeah.
And I'm slightly buoyed by that, because I hope that at the end of the day, like at some point, it might become, you know, they might not get so fortunate. They might get a couple more injuries here and there. I think they're banking a lot on their attack. Fair enough. Like, I think that they're probably also silently banking a lot on Isaac coming in and being just incredible, which he may well be. But you know, they ended up winning today in a very sort of fortunate way against a newly promoted team, and that newly promoted team had nothing to offer going forward, and like, they're not going to play teams like that all the time. So yeah, let's see, man. You got to be optimistic at this stage, but you're certainly annoying the amount of late goals they've scored. What is that like? I think they showed the stat on Sky, didn't they? I think all 4 games, the decisive goal has been after the 80th minute, and a couple of times it's been in injury time. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and it's obviously not sustainable over the course of a season, but like you say, it's annoying because obviously they're not necessarily playing their best. They do look a bit suspect defensively, but I guess it's like if and when they hit form and Isak comes into the team as well, like you can see them being devastating, like you can see them blowing teams away. And then if they do get into a run of form, I mean, like you say, it's still really early, right? Literally anything can happen. But yeah, it's just annoying, isn't it? And I guess maybe to look at it from the other side and put a slightly more positive spin on it is it was Burnley. They were, you know, you go into that game, that's like 3 points guaranteed for them. So they've basically got par for, you know, they're on par for in terms of they should have got 3 points. They got 3 points, and they'll hopefully, and I'm sure they will have tougher games along the way. So yeah, but yeah, look, we've got a couple of massive games coming up. It's always every game every week is huge. I think the next run of games, actually, I was looking earlier, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's like till early October, which isn't actually that far away. But I think it's like for the next like 3 weeks or 4 weeks until the next international break. We're basically playing twice a week. I could be wrong on that. Okay. So obviously we've got Bilbao away on Tuesday, odd kickoff time, 5:45 is it? I think, or something. 5. It's not a normal Champions League kickoff time, and then City on Sunday. And got a question from Charles in the chat as well. So will Declan Rice play the full 90 minutes versus Bilbao? I can't say that word. I can't say that City. And then again, City, or will Mourinho be used again? Yeah, like obviously I guess we spoke about sort of minutes for both of those players in the international break, and like I think this is the thing, right? Maybe we're repeating ourselves a little bit, but we now have the options. And I think Arteta now has the trust in whoever he picks, like to go and essentially do a job. And I think us as fans, I mean, definitely for me, I'll speak on behalf of myself. Like, I don't really have those concerns that I've had in previous seasons where it's like, you know, like Odegaard's injured, like shit, what are we going to do? Or Rice isn't starting today. How are we going to win the game? Do you know what I mean? Like you said, Raj, you know, so many players out injured, but he still rested Declan Rice, one of the first names on the team sheet normally. So For me, it's just more about managing players and managing their load. Even this early in the season, you've got this run of games where, yeah, like I say, twice a week. I think it's another international break after that. I could be wrong, but I think there's another international break coming up pretty soon. So then, we've got a lot of players that make their national teams, and they play a lot of minutes as well. So I think just managing minutes will be huge.
Yeah, you're right. So just to confirm, I'm pretty sure the international break is between our game against West Ham on Saturday the 4th, and then our next game is away at Fulham on October the 18th. So there's 2 weeks. There's a 2 week
Yeah.
gap, so it's got to be international break. So you're right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it will be interesting. I think team selection will be interesting. Probably, I expected some a level of rotation. I guess we're potentially a little bit limited because you think of some of the players that we've got out, like Saliba's out, might be back. Apparently he's back in training, but will he be risked in the Champions League? Maybe not. They might just want to keep him for City. I assume they'll want him to start against City, so maybe he'll make the squad, but maybe doesn't start. But anything like just in terms of like team selection, Raj, for the next two games and how you think you might play it, and just your thoughts really on what's coming up this week.
Yeah, I think that he will go pretty full strength. I say pretty sure. So I'm not even sure we know what full strength necessarily means anymore, given our squad. But maybe the easy way of answering sort of the initial question that was posed, I think Declan Rice starts both games. I think he'll start against Bilbao, and I think he'll start against Man City, and I think I think the only way he comes off against Bilbao is if the game state allows him to, I guess, or needs him to. Otherwise, I think that Arteta will be prepared to play him 90 minutes. I think because, firstly, Deck was one of those players last season that just seemed to like play and play and play. So clearly he has that engine and he has that natural fitness about him. But I think the fact that he didn't play against, I mean, he came on for a little bit at the end against Forest, I think is a big deal. Like that's basically a weekend off, right? Like, and I think therefore he will be primed to go for a couple of games. And I think it is important to factor in that, like, even though we've got games like Olympiacos at home, no disrespect to Olympiacos, but obviously it's not one of our harder Champions League games. I think that Arteta is a sort of manager who will just want to secure as many points in the Champions League as early as possible. Like, I don't think he's going to think like maybe I should risk it a little bit, and then if I really need to, then we go kind of hell for leather to get the points in the kind of latter part of the group stage. I think he'll want to just take no chances and win as many of the opening kind of games as he can. So I think that there will be when we say rotation, I don't think any of the rotation will be related to kind of like resting. I think any rotation that we see will be tactical. I think he'll specifically kind of go, okay, what's the team I need to play to beat Bilbao? What's the team I need to play to beat Man City? Because then at the end of the day, we've got Port Vale afterwards, right? Port Vale, he'll completely play just whoever is the most available. Martinelli and Trossard will certainly play that game, for example, right? Yeah, and then like it gets kind of weird for us, right, coming up, because when you look at those fixtures, because okay, we've got Bilbao and we've got City, so as I said, I think that we'll go full strength. Then Port Vale, so we'll change it up. Then Newcastle away, which I think therefore also will be a full strength. Whoever I think is best to beat Newcastle, I'll play, and then Olympiacos, which. Okay, we might get a tiny bit of rotation, but I think ultimately you'll still take it seriously. And then it's West Ham at home and then the international break. So, I mean, he'd be forgiven for basically saying, like, aside from Port Vale, do I just play my best possible team at all times and then just get to the international break? He'd be forgiven, I think, for doing that. Because then we go into a period where it's on paper a little bit easier in the league. On paper, I mean, West Ham is, on paper at the moment, quite an easy fixture in theory. But I think it's then something like Fulham. I think we've got two of the newly promoted teams kind of coming up after that as well. So I think it gets a little bit better. So yeah, no, I think he'll be very weary, man, about any of the major competitions like Champions League or Premier League. I don't think he's going to want to get behind on anything. I think he's going to really be conscious of those things.
Yeah, no, all
Yeah.
fair points. Yeah, I can't really. Yeah, I pretty much agree. I think like especially this. I mean, maybe like you can't. He's not going to rotate like crazy just because it's potentially a slightly weaker team. Like if you're comparing the two games that we've got coming up, right? City is the big one, but like you say, you need to get points on the board. We did really well in the Champions League league phase last season, and just need to do the same again, right? He obviously helped kind of, I guess, build the confidence for the Champions League campaign, and So no, I can see him doing very similar. But I guess, like we say, right, we're in this really good position where a little bit of rotation here and there, you don't necessarily see. Doesn't necessarily mean that the standards drop or the level drops. So yeah. Do you want to do predictions? Should we do predictions for these two games coming up? Because I guess we won't speak before City as well, right?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, sure. I mean, should we do Bilbao first? Like, I think we'll beat Bilbao. I think it. I'm gonna go. Bilbao just lost. They just lost their last La Liga game. I think, like, at home to someone pretty basic.
Okay.
Read into that what you will. I think we will win 2-0. 2-0 is a really odd score. I don't know why. I always feel really weird predicting a 2-0. But I'm just going to go for 2-0. I think it'll be 2-0 or 3-0. I'm just going to go with 2-0.
Yeah, they lost to Deportivo. Deportivo? I didn't even know Deportivo were in La Liga. I thought they were like...
Yeah, they were. I don't know if they just got promoted, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Well, they're third in the league, though, so... They've won 3 and draw... they've won 3 and lost 1. Obviously, the game they just lost, so... Yeah, I think... Yeah, I just think, like, we're... Like, I don't know, man. Just it's hard to go into a lot of into these games now and really, like, before, if you go back like 2-3 years, maybe not 2-3 years, but when we first started this podcast, we go into some of the games like, I don't know, man, like maybe a 1-1 or something. It's like you just feel so much more confident now.
Yeah, we need to recognize who we are a little bit. I'm not saying we should get ahead of ourselves, but at the end of the day, right, we got knocked out in the semi-finals against PSG, and that was a pretty close couple of ties. PSG went on to like absolutely wallop Inter in the final. So I think it's very safe to say we got through PSG would probably be the Champions League winners. Like, we're a decent team, man. Like, yeah. So sorry to interrupt you, but yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Obviously, they have got a couple of decent players. Like they've got like Unai Simon, who's a Spanish. He gets ahead of Raya, doesn't he? In the Spanish team, yeah. They've got Laporte. I didn't know he's gone to.
He got back to El Nasser, I think.
Yeah.
Something happened with that, so I didn't follow that correctly, but I think something happened whereby he went there and came back, right? Like there was some, like either in the same window or everything happened very quickly. I might be able to look up very quickly, but it was something very kind of last minute-y. I'm pretty sure like he just signed like over the last week or something like this.
Okay. Obviously, they got Nico Williams.
Yeah.
But anyway, look, predictions. I'll go with a narrow 1-0 win. Yeah, I think we'll sort of good solid Champions League. Just get off the mark, really get the 3 points and get out. Just hopefully no more bloody injuries, man. Like that would be nice.
That would be. You tell me your Man City prediction first.
Oh, God. They look. I mean, look. I know it was against United. They looked kind of. I say kind of good. I guess like you see Haaland kind of playing the way he played. I watched bits of the game, so I didn't watch it properly. And like Foden, they brought back in, didn't it? It was his first start of the season, and pretty good goal from him. And Doku looked quite good. Like they looked kind of like back on it in some ways. Do you know what I mean? But it's a bit weird with City because they just feel like they were a machine, like what a season ago or 2 seasons ago, and it doesn't feel like they're necessarily that sort of same kind of machine now, and it's a bit more erratic in terms of their form. Maybe it's just the starts of the season, but they've already lost a couple of games, and I think that should give us like massive confidence. Obviously, we smashed them at home last season anyway. We beat them at home last season, so I don't see confidence necessarily being an issue. But I don't know. Like, I think Arsenal win. I think Arsenal win. I can see it being like a bit of a two very, very, very good teams going at each other, but us coming out on top, if you know what I mean. So I could see it being like a 2-1 or a 3-2, something like that. Because I think City need to come to us, and I think they need to win, man. Like they've, like you say, they've really got any ambitions of winning the title. You know what, they're on 6 points. Is that right? They've won 2, lost 2.
Yeah,
got that right. And you know, they're already 6 points behind Liverpool. I think they're going to feel like Pep might feel like, yeah, we need to come and sort of like maybe make a bit of a statement to say we're back. But I think just from a points perspective, they need to. Maybe they don't need to win, but I feel like Pep will really want to come and win, especially after what happened to them, like what we did to them last season, right? But I just like I said before, man, I just think we're just a very, very good team now. Assuming that we don't have any more like key injuries going into this one, you know, I feel like players are generally like, you know, we're playing well. Few players are on form. I think we'll cause them problems, and I can see us. Yeah, I can see us winning, man. Yeah, I can see us winning. I see it being a very, very good week for us.
I wish I had your optimism, but like, there's not really like a huge amount of rationale as to why I'm not as optimistic as you are against City, because like I never really disagree with. The only thing is, like, Pep is Pep, and I know we battered them last season. They didn't have Rodri. They've got him this season.
He got injured in that game, didn't he? Did he get injured?
Didn't he get injured? Didn't he get injured in the away game? Maybe I got this wrong, but I thought he got injured.
Oh yeah, he did. He did. That was the early. Yeah, right at the start.
Yeah. It was.
Was it? I can't remember now. God,
my memory's a bit hazy. I'm pretty sure it was the away game, but regardless, like I think that does make a difference. Rodri being there, like, I feel like Pep. Partly, I think it's because exactly what you said. I do think they need to get a result at least. I think if they lose, it's a bit of a problem for them. Like mentally, not for Pep. Like Pep, obviously mentally he's so resilient, he's done it or whatever. But it's still a fairly new squad, and I think like you'd be forgiven if you're them. You know, you've already lost a couple of games, like you say. You lose to Arsenal, and then it's like 3 games already, and you know, it gets a little bit tough. I know, man. I've just got this funny feel. I don't think we'll lose because I think that ultimately we are like we're pretty good at home. Like we're very good defensively, and I think those two things in combination means that we will have enough attacking intent to score goals, but we're still defensively good. But I've got this like really weird 1-1 in my mind. Do you know what? Partly I think it is as well is Donnarumma. Is I've just got that PTSD from the Champions League.
Yeah,
like
about him. Yeah.
You know, like that. So there's a little bit of that. Like I don't think that it's So I think there's that. I think it'll be a 1-1. I don't know how I feel about that though. Like I really, because you know, if we go back to the beginning of the season when we did predictions, I was like pretty kind of staunch on the fact that I don't think we can afford to drop that many points in this opening run if we actually think we're going to win the league. And I still kind of stand by that. And I think therefore, like I think the maximum in the next 2 games, which we've got, which are Man City and Newcastle, I think we can only drop points in one of them. And when I say drop points, I don't think we can lose in one of them either. I think like we can probably, if we drew one of these games against Man City and Newcastle and won the other one, I'd probably overall be like, okay, like this isn't great overall because we obviously lost to Liverpool as well, but it's okay. But I think if we drop points in both these games, or if we lose one, like I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure like losing 2 games, this early in the season is okay, or dropping that many points. So yeah, so I really hope I'm wrong in that, like, obviously I hope we win and we could. But I would actually, do you know what? Like, not to make this too long an answer, but I really wish kind of Kai Havertz was fit for this game.
Yeah.
I think he's really good in like kind of these sorts of games as well. So that's gonna be a bit annoying. But hey, it'll be great for Gyokeres, right? Like this is a huge game, at the Emirates. If he can, as I said, like if he can be the difference, if he can score the opening goal or the winning goal, like if he can do that, that's really big for him, and he'll have a really good feeling, right? Because he scored a hat trick against Man City last season in the Champions League.
Yeah.
So I'm sure like that means something to strikers as well, right? Like I'm sure mentally he'll be like up for it. No, two of those goals were penalties, I think, but still, it is what it is, right? So like, I'm gonna say draw, mate, but like, I really hope you're right.
I don't think it draws the end of the world again this early in the season. I think we said the same. Obviously, Anfield away is a bit different, but we said like if we get out that with a draw, that would obviously be a good result. I think home games is a bit different, and City are not the same City as they were before. But yeah, I think this early on in the season, tough start. We've only conceded one goal, and that was a wonder goal, basically, right? Goal. So I think all things considered, it's been a pretty good start to the season. Yeah, I don't think
just to follow up on that. So you said you don't think it'll be the end of the world if it's a draw. Like, would you think that if we draw, and we drop points against Newcastle, then how would you feel?
So what, we draw both games, for example,
or like let's say we draw against Man City, and then we draw or lose to Newcastle.
Yeah, that's slightly that's different. That's different. I guess not looking at that far ahead to the Newcastle game and just looking at City in isolation. But if you're saying 2 points from those two games or 1 point from those two games, I mean that's pretty bad, right? Like you say, that could be quite damaging. I mean, it's a hard one, isn't it? Because if you spread though, like if you take Anfield, City at home and Newcastle, you spread those games across those fixtures across the season, and we come out with like a point or 2 points out of those three. Okay, it's not great, but you might be able to kind of recover. Yeah. Whereas obviously if it all happens within the space of a few weeks, it feels a lot more damaging. But equally, like you say, like fixtures might be a bit kinder after that. And we always say this on paper. Yeah, we can go on a winning run and win like 8 games in a row, and it never happens, or it never really works out like that. But we could, right? So I guess that's how we'd have to look at it. But I don't know, man. Newcastle. I mean, look, we're looking way ahead now. Obviously, we're not going to start predicting the Newcastle game, but Newcastle. I don't know. They don't really feel like the same Newcastle. Maybe like the Isak factor's another one, but at the same time, like we always they know what to do against us, right? And they know what kind of tactics to employ to stop us from playing. So let's see. But I mean 2 points from those two games or 1 point from those two games probably would be quite damaging in the context of the whole season. Just got a few predictions here. Obi-Wan Kenobi 3-1 versus Bilbao. Noni scoring 2 and Trossard, which is interesting.
Oh, very cool.
And then he's also gone
very cool.
3-1 versus City. Eze, Gyokeres, and Rice from a corner. I said this. So I said
Rice scoring directly from a corner.
I think so, because I said this as well. I don't know if I said it to you guys. I reckon Rice will score directly from a corner, if not this season, at some point, like for us in the next couple of years. Because I mean, look, it's obvious why I'm saying that, right? His delivery is that good, and he's obviously hitting these insulting corners that are. I just can see you can see it happening, man. Like he's so consistently good with these corners.
But it's also because like it feels like that's actually one of the plans. Like because the Calafiori goal against Man United, and I think there's been a couple of corners that he's taken like that since. They are a corner where, in theory, if it's left, it's going in.
Yeah.
And you could probably tell that that's to a certain extent a plan, like in particularly to try and take on some of these keepers that they don't think are that great. Really, so maybe.
Do you know how good you have to be to consistently get it onto? Like it's crazy, but so that's a bit of an interesting one. But and what else? We've got a few other predictions. Sorry, just really good. Charles, Bilbao will win.
Oh,
we will win.
Who? What? Bilbao.
Bilbao will win.
Bilbao will win, or Bilbao will win. Charles, I hope you mean that. Okay. Let's just say on face value, you say.
I think that's we will win. City draw is my prediction. the game that Arteta wanted to play at Anfield. 1 second, just lost it. I'm not used to putting up so many comments on the screen. The game Arteta wanted to play at Anfield will be replayed again at the Etihad. This time to perfection, 1-1 or 0-0.
I mean, that's interesting. But the thing is, right? I don't think we've got time to get into it. But like, that it sounds like what Charles is saying is actually that like Arteta very much set up for the draw against Liverpool. I don't really want to get into it. I kind of get it, and I'm sure like Arteta would have still hoped that what he did against Liverpool would have constituted a margin that might have given us a victory. But I do actually agree with the general point. If I picture this game against Man City, I'm picturing it in the same way that he played against Man City, not last season, but the season prior to that, where it was just the one where Martinelli scored, where it was just like chess. Both teams were just out chessing each other essentially, right? And it was just about a margin. I get the feeling he might go for that sort of game. I don't know. We've got more Mavericks in the squad now, so who knows? But
yeah.
Let's see.
6-0 win.
There you go. That's my guy.
That's it. Cool. Look, it's been a good chat, Raj. Anything else you wanted to talk about?
That's it, man. That's it. It's So sorry. Like, it's been a long pod, but I guess there was a lot to talk about. So
there was
very cool.
Was.
Thank you for everyone for joining us, though. Like,
yeah, man.
Appreciate.
I got comments like this as well. Again from Obi-Wan Kenobi. Defo should do this weekly. Great combo. Enjoyed listening. Yeah, we should do this weekly. We should do this weekly. Yeah, I agree. Yes.
Obviously, like I mean, I don't know how to address it. Do I address you as Odie? Well, Odie, basically, just because your handle hasn't come up before, I'm assuming you're someone who didn't used to listen to us. Well, you did used to try and do this every week, and things obviously just got sidetracked because people like myself and were having kids and people going on holidays and lots of random things. But we are trying. I think we are making a concerted effort to try and get back in the swing of things because. Yeah. Otherwise, we're recording once every couple of weeks and have too much to talk about, and then we'll go on for an hour and 40 minutes, and then everyone will find us really boring. So
yeah. Yeah. Like I said, Raj, no, a lot of people tuning in, loads of comments. So thanks for that, guys. It actually makes it pretty cool, right? Like people just asking questions and putting in their thoughts and predictions, all that kind of stuff. It makes it really interactive and cool, and I really enjoy that side of it. So appreciate that. Appreciate you guys listening. Yeah, an hour and 40 minutes in. So cool. Hopefully we'll be able to talk again after the City game, I imagine. So yeah, but obviously I'll see you on Sunday, Raj. We will be there. Looking forward to it.
Will do.
Cool, man. All right. Thanks, Raj.
Okay. Nice one.
Everyone, have a good
Cheers,
week.
mate.
Catch you soon.